So the Pentagon unidentified aerial sightings now number more than 650. According to the Military Times, it says that sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena have surged by more than 140 since the last report was released by the Pentagon's UAP research office in January, which is a newer office. The UAP thing, of course, everybody was kind of, poo-pooing. It was like the Pentagon is actually putting together a UFO kind of office, and most people thought that they're just kind of brushing it off and giving us disclosure, but not, and this kind of distraction kind of stuff. But it said that the director of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which they have the weirdest ways of naming things, testified last week in the second UAP-related congressional hearing in more than 50 years. The number of sightings, he said, now number more than 650 objects of interest. It says of those 650, we've prioritized about half of them to be anomalous. Interesting value, the Aero director, Sean Kirkpatrick, testified. Kirkpatrick presented updated findings to the Senate Armed Services Subcommittee on emerging threats and capabilities that included declassified surveillance images of UAPs flying through the skies. It says none of the objects under investigation by Aero, however, were of extraterrestrial origin, Kirkpatrick said. So that doesn't make sense. If they don't know what it is, how are they saying that it was that none of these were of extraterrestrial origin? And more so, if that is true, then that means there's a whole lot of China flying above us, or Russia, or some other adversary. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. We're going to cover all sorts of things just like this tonight on Marfoogle TV. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a ton of stuff to go over, and of course, it is always backed up over on marfooglenews.com. When you go over there, you'll see that there is a full bibliography for every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. All you have to do is look for today's thumbnail. This is not a game, family on alert. The risk is real. The future is here. When you click on that, you will find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today, plus a whole lot more. Down at the bottom, there is overflow. That is web content that is essentially exclusive to our website and not on the shows. Some of it is the stuff that will get you in a bar fight if you talk about, or the other stuff just couldn't fit into the show in a 2-hour time period. Today's show is going to be a little bit shorter today. Again, I'll be explaining that later, and I'll show you a little surprise later on the show. But we are trying to do at least 1 or 2 shows a week that are shorter, so you guys can share them out. Not everybody can share a 2-hour show with their friends and family. Most people just don't have that kind of time. Usually over on Marfoogle News, we do shorter videos. That helps a lot. But again, I've been working a ton, so again, it's been harder to do those. So make sure to go share this out with your friends and family. And speaking of friends, go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. And you will find that every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is on our website, and all of our mods are listed on Friends. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So, the number of unidentified aerial sightings, I mean, what do you guys think this is? Going over to the chat for a second, do you think that this is mostly, more technology in the sky? Do you think that this is classified stuff? Do you think it is our own stuff? A lot of these UAPs are sighted over nuclear bases, or at least that's what the rumors are, that a ton of these have been over military bases, nuclear bases in very sensitive areas. What do you guys think? Where do you think that this is ours? Do you think that this is something like China's or Russia's or even somebody else? What do you guys think? I'll pull up the chat. Dex, what do you think it is? What do you think the UAPs are? And why is there such an uptick? Is it because they're following it closer?
Well, if this is new tech, this is kind of crazy. A lot of over half of the ones that have been cataloged, especially some of the recent ones in the ME in Indo-Pacific, since January, they're saying over half of them have been classified as orb, round, or sphere shaped. So this whole notion of a round ball flying through the air is sort of like tech we've never seen before. I think any of this stuff would probably be tech we've never seen before, especially moving at the speeds that they're moving and making turns at the speeds in which they're making it. So if this is not from some other technology or some other source besides humans, if it's human made, then this is some pretty incredible tech, and I would like to think it's our own, but if it's not our own, then that's kind of scary.
Yeah, and if it's one of our adversaries, that's much worse. Especially with all of the talk about the balloons and everything else. They probably have all sorts of stuff flying above us, but we wouldn't know. And so this is something this is real. So I wanted to put this early in the show, so to make sure that most people saw this before they ended up tuning out for whatever reason. So I wanted to pull this up. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. First, let's kind of introduce what's happening here. What is happening in Sudan? The fierce conflict explained. A conflict that broke out earlier this month in the country of Sudan has continued to escalate in recent days. The intense military clashes are creating a growing humanitarian crisis and have forced foreign nations, including the U.S., to evacuate their embassies. It says the fighting is between two rival generals, General Abdel Fattah Burhan, who leads the Sudanese military, and General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. It says who leads the Rapid Support Forces. Or the RSF. It says a paramilitary group caught in between are millions of civilians who have made their support for a democratic government clear. It says, quote, this tragic violence in Sudan has already cost the lives of hundreds of innocent civilians. It's unconscionable and it must stop, as President JB said in a statement on Saturday. It says, in his country in the Northeast Africa, bordering the Red Sea, with a population of about 45 million people, it is one of the continent's most populous nations and largest geographically. As it rises, thousands are fleeing in the embattled region to neighboring nations like South Sudan, Chad, Ethiopia, and Egypt. Almost biblical. It says that the conflict represents a power struggle between two Sudanese generals, the Abdel and Mohammed. And it says Burhan leads the Sudanese military, the country's official army. Well, Dagalo heads up the Rapid Support Forces, a paramilitary group that is vying for more power in the government. The two generals have been sharing power since 2021 when they carried out a military coup. Prior to that, Burhan had been leading alongside a civilian prime minister who rose to the government seat after the revolution ousted the nation's dictator, Omar al-Bashir, which there was some pretty weird stuff around that as well. Dex, now, no, I don't know if that was the same guy, but I remember there was a bunch of countries that had their leaders essentially taken out. A lot of countries that were not going along with the narrative or along with the going on the ride for the CV thing, they weren't one of them.
That was before then.
Okay, so it was before in 2019. But I remember there was at least 5 countries that basically didn't go along with these guys. So if you remember this agency, the W and the H and the O, official warns of high risk of biological hazard in Sudan after fighters seize laboratory. So supposedly there's things there. There's these places there that they say that has horrible things like polio, this, that, and the other. I just thought it was interesting. Of course, the first thing when this came out, I thought it was so convenient that the two kind of uncontrollable characters on the network that would actually, bring this stuff up, question it, question the narrative, both got fired in the last week. Tucker and Bongino, Carlson and Bongino got fired from Fox. I just thought that was interesting because there really is no one on mainstream that is really going to question this. I don't think anybody on the current Fox, even the ones that are a little bit edgy, I don't think they're going to touch this if there are questions to be asked. It says the W and the H and the O representative of in Sudan reportedly warned Tuesday of a high risk of a biological hazard after one of the sizes fighting in the conflict seized a central public lab with samples of measles and polio, creating an extremely, extremely dangerous situation. It says Dr. Nima Said Abid, signed to the post of the representative of Sudan, effective August 2020, addressed reporters in Geneva, Switzerland via video link. It says there is a huge biological risk associated with the occupation of the Central Public Health Lab by one of the fighting parties. So, first of all, it's probably, there's probably other stuff in there, probably shady stuff that we don't know about, classified stuff, whatever else. Who exactly is in charge of these things? There are these kind of buildings all over the world. There's a few main ones, like Atlanta and the one in Russia that have the really, really bad stuff. And both of those had some weird events happen. In fact, in 2019, right before all of the crazy stuff went down. In fact, the Russian lab that basically contained all of the worst stuff you could ever imagine, the literal worst stuff in the world, caught fire, and one of the walls blew out, and they said it was an accident. There wasn't much, after that about, like, did somebody go in? Did somebody take something? None of that happened, and then CV happened. Just a few weeks before that, leading up to all of that, there was the Timothy Cunningham stuff with the Atlanta building. The guy that essentially would respond to something like a CV event, he ended up basically unaliving himself, or at least that's what they said. His family didn't believe it. The public didn't believe it. Common sense didn't believe it. I think even the neighbor didn't believe it. In fact, the day before he disappeared, he told the neighbors to delete his phone number out of their phones, and he was very, very panicked, saying, yeah, you don't want my phone number in your phone. Very, very weird stuff happened before all that. And he was also somebody who was very outspoken against certain things. So very, very crazy things. You should look up into that 2019. It was crazy stuff. Now we have this thing where they're talking about this huge risk. I hope that nothing gets out of this. But I guess my warning is a big, huge heads up on something like this. Dex, this is like... This could possibly be really, really bad depending on how this goes. And they're kind of basically saying, oh, well, there's some nasty stuff in there, and it could be these guys' fault if it gets out.
Certainly. Anytime you have a lab like that with that type of material in it, biological risks in it, that causes a high level of risk, especially when there's this, uncontrollable conflict going on at the moment. Fortunately, they're trying to call a ceasefire. I think they asked for one. It's just obviously hasn't been holding very well since we just evacuated the base. And they're trying to set up other things to evacuate more Americans out. But certainly, if this location is being used by one of those generals, and then that obviously means they've taken it over and they have access to this material. Now, hopefully they're smart and they don't do anything dumb that would cause it to get out into the public. I don't think that's what they would want, but you never know. You never know who else may be involved or who else may take this as an opportunity to capture those samples of those different things, and as they refer to them, as extremely, extremely dangerous, quote unquote, material. So, yeah, a lot of risk.
Yeah, and they list some of that things. Oddly enough, during the last couple of years, they have actually the U.S. government and other countries have been buying up certain things that go in the side of you. That for things that have actually been eradicated since like the early 80s. So a lot of people question that, like, well, why are they buying prevention stuff for something that's basically gone off the planet? Well, then CV happened and people started wondering a lot less. And it's kind of funny. They ordered so many millions of these things, and then all of a sudden the Civ happened, and all of a sudden they got things done. I mean, really fast, like warp speed fast. Really crazy how fast they got that together. And then U.S. Navy sea base to reposition off Sudan for evacuation contingency. So they have gotten some folks out already, but they are going to get out more. And it says the U.S. Navy's expeditionary sea base ship USS Lewis B. Polar is on its way to take up a position off the coast of Sudan where it could support evacuation efforts if required. The ship's unique abilities to support these kind of operations are among the exact reasons why the Navy began working to acquire vessels of this type more than a decade ago. Pentagon spokesperson Air Force Brigadier General Pat Ryder announced that Polar was headed for Sudan earlier today at a routine press conference. The Navy had already deployed an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, the USS Truxtun, to the area where it is also on call. If necessary, of course, the deployment Polar follows a U.S. military operation this weekend to help American diplomats and their dependents evacuate Sudan's capital of Khartoum. It says which you can read more about in the blah, blah, blah. And then it says there has been fighting in the city and other parts of the country since April 15th when Sudan's paramilitary rapid RSF launched major attacks on elements of the country's military. This putsch came after falling out between RSF head General Mohammed and, of course, better known as Hemedti, with Sudanese Army General Abdul Fattah al-Burhan. It says that the two have been running a fragile junta together since 2021 when they led a coup against the fledgling civilian government that came to power following the ouster of longtime dictator Omar al-Bashir. So raise your hands, everybody. How many of you think that the U.S. or one of the NATO countries may have had something to do with the ousting of the previous leader? I don't know much about the whole thing here because, I mean, there's been so much going on around the world. In 2019, I was mostly focused on covering the CV, but I kind of remember all of this stuff going down in not only this country, but others. And I really remember like seeing shots of the streets, and it made the news for like a day and then disappeared. But do you guys think, press 1 in the chat if you think the U.S. or some other adversary to them or allied country to us was involved with their ousting. And actually, I don't know what their who they line up. Are we allies with Sudan? Or are they an adversary? Do we know? Or are they just neutral? Do you think that we had something to do with the ousting of Omar al-Bashir? And some of you may know and go, oh, absolutely. We've known for 4 years that they have been. It says the capability of both. I mean, people can just guess. And that doesn't mean it's true, but most people just, when they see something like this, they're like, U.S. is probably involved. And especially since this huge thing is going on right now, it makes you think that there's more involvement there than was talked about before. The capabilities that both Polar and Truxtun offer should be their need use in support of State Department's efforts. It says the idea here is to have these capabilities offshore available should we need, for example, to transport citizens to another location, should we need to provide medical care and those kind of things. So it says Polar, the ship derived from the Alaska-class supertanker, is around 785 feet. That's huge. and displaces some 90,000 tons with the full load. Is particularly well suited for such missions. The Navy currently has 3 expeditionary sea bases, or ESBs, in service, including the Polar, which was commissioned in 2017 and is in the process of acquiring 3 more. So is this the ship that they're talking about? What's the main? Yeah, Navy sea base. I almost thought by how they were saying that this would be good because of like the amphibious ships would be good because they could pull right out into it. So how are these good? Are these good because they have the helicopter pad? That's what I would think. They can pull people out and then land on the ship. But I think most of the ships have that, right? I guess I'm just from a technical standpoint, why are these better for this kind of thing and pulling people out than others? I'm just curious from like a, just interested in it. And, lots of funky stuff. Is it a big distraction? You guys let me know in the comments down below. And then before we move on, I want to say happy birthday. Happy birthday, Argel. I can't sing the official one because it's copyrighted, but I can do a happy birthday. Happy birthday, RGL. Happy birthday, RGL. And that was, by the way, trademark copyright Marf birthday song. So can't get in trouble for it. And China is preparing for war with the West. Dex, do you want to go into this? And obviously, I mean, it's my main opinion. I think that they are absolutely doing this. But this is pretty interesting.
Certainly. So, this, I guess the dots they're trying to connect here, and this is coming mostly, I guess, from the UK perspective and the way it's written, is they're talking about how the UK is sort of not necessarily seeming to take the same position against the threat of conflict from Xi as others are. So one of the things they talk about is how much the UK was, keen to work with them on other things like the CV and stuff like that during the outbreak. But, as it relates to what's happening now and how things are expanding and everything that we've been talking about and how he's preparing, and as it says, the title, China is preparing for conflict with the West. I think, part of what they're trying to push at here is that the UK government just doesn't seem to necessarily take that same position, or at least they've kind of put that to the back burner in the sense that they, look beyond some of what's, what has gone on with Xi, especially in how, they talk about human rights, they talk about other things, and they talk about the conflict. But all of these things, about him trying to be peaceful and him trying to, bring that about, it's not something that I guess they're pushing in Britain as far as, the narrative. And I guess that's why they wrote this. They wrote it basically on one hand to talk about the fact that he is preparing for it. But on the other hand, it seems the UK government isn't necessarily as much. Not that they're against it, they're just sort of like ignoring it, or not seeming to take him as much of a threat as you would expect them to. And I guess that's, maybe they're a little behind in the sense of, like, I know we've always had this narrative and this feeling here that, the Western allies and the power of the US military, and nobody is bigger than that. Nobody's got more tech than that. China can never, beat us, et cetera, et cetera. But, if you keep your head in the sand long, they're eventually going to catch up. And that's sort of what's happened. And I guess that's the, in short, that's what they're trying to talk about here.
Yeah. So I there's probably some new people. I mean, you guys have probably heard me a million times. So if you look into this, if you really, really look into everything China is doing, from hoarding gold, from hoarding food, from everything they're doing with Taiwan, everything they are doing strategically around the world, They are trying to copy the U.S.'s strategic kind of overhaul that they did a long time ago. They're trying to do the same thing that the U.S. did. They're trying to expand their military power by putting bases all over the place. They're trying to expand their economic power by giving loans to small countries and big countries alike. It's insane how many countries have taken loans, and they rarely ever forgive these loans, mind you. There's a percentage. There's actual stats. They almost never do. And some, in a lot of countries' cases, they'll forgive a loan, or they'll forgive a lot of loans if they do, scratch their back. They just don't. They say, you owe us the money, hardcore cash. And then these smaller countries, they get these big loans to fix infrastructure, or to make roads, or to build hospitals, or libraries for kids who can't read good, whatever they're building. And then they put a high interest rate that they can't pay back. And then they are in debt and beholden to China. This has been going on for a while, the whole Silk Road, the Belt and Road Initiative, which is, again, something that was taken from history. Genghis Khan made the original Silk Road. That's where the name comes from, where everybody actually looked up to Genghis Khan. He's a hero in some people's eyes because of all of the stuff he did. He was a merciless, absolutely just brutal dude. But at the same time, for his people, there was a lot of weird things that he did that was a good thing. There's a lot of opposite kind of things that him and Xi have in common, or I guess differences. But there's a lot of similarities. And it kind of, you look at Xi today, and it's like Xi really is a unique person because he absolutely wants to become number one. He absolutely wants to take over the world, and he's very open about it. Under the heavenly mandate, their religion, they have to be number one. Otherwise, they're humiliated. It's humiliation for them to be underneath the U.S. And you see it in media. You see it in how they're investing their money. You see it everywhere. You see it with what they're doing with everything, like TikTok. They don't allow TikTok in China, yet it is a huge source for our culture right now. Our culture is actually changing because of videos that are pushed by algorithms on a platform that we know is made there but won't even be allowed there. And these platforms are pushing cultural changes that everybody is divided on. I mean, when you're pushing something, you're picking absolutely subjects that are just down to the bone, people are just never going to agree on, ever. Like, there's certain people that just will not ever go, yeah, that's totally cool. And that's exactly what is being pushed over the last 5 years. If you haven't noticed, it's exactly the issues that nobody is ever going to see eye to eye on. There's some people that will, of course, say, oh, yeah, I'm totally cool with that. And then there's people that will say, I will never be cool with that. I will never understand that. And that is a divide. That's a divide and conquer. Genghis Khan would go into countries, and he would literally send people in beforehand. He would send in spies that would then sow confusion and discourse between people. He would basically have these guys go in and cause the tribes to fight with themselves. So by the time that he would get there, they would be so torn up and so focused on themselves, they wouldn't be able to stand a chance against him and his armies. You see, the thing is when you are arguing with the person next to you, if some pack of bullies comes down the street and every single person is an individual and you're not teaming up, those pack of bullies are going to kick all your butts. But again, if you didn't have this divide and there was 15 of you, what we're seeing now in America, there will be somebody punched right on the street, right on the sidewalk. A woman will be punched right on the sidewalk, and there'll be 50 people standing around. Nobody goes and helps. Nobody stands up to the guy that punched her. They just watch it. That's our country right now. So it's really, really sad. But if you look at what is happening with China, I think it is very clear. And I'm surprised that the media hasn't pushed down on it. I know that it has pushed down on it subtly and underneath. We can't admit that they're doing that, but they are. I mean, they own huge swaths of the media, of the news, of the Hollywood films, the whole Hollywood industry. I just watched The Martian the other day for the second time. First time was in the theaters when it came out. I don't think if you guys remember that movie, I don't know if you guys realize this. This and Moonfall and all of these other movies where in these Hollywood films, China basically saves the day. They go over to China and China does something like, oh, well, we have top secret technology, but, to help them out, we're going to just give it to them. And they save the day. Same thing with Moonfall. Same thing with all these. You might think, oh, who cares? Well, they do the opposite too. If it's patriotic, if it's American, they will ask they invest millions and if not billions into the movie industry, and they'll say, remove this. It's too patriotic. It's too American. And most of the time, they do. So our country is being altered and edited from outside of our country, infiltrated by ideals and things that the people that are basically trying to instill it, they don't believe in. They're doing it on purpose. They're trying to divide us. We are divided right down the middle, and people aren't realizing it. Our niche, the only niche that calls it out, everybody is divided. I can't work with this person or that person because essentially they go, oh, well, you know this other person, or you've had this person on your show, so I can't work with you because that person's a shill or that person's this. That's how the entire niche is. Every other niche on YouTube, they do collabs and work together and do all sorts of projects together. This one, everybody is so paranoid about who is this and who is that we'll never get anywhere. We can never look at the people above us because we're so focused on each other. That's why one of the rules here is that we don't talk about other creators. We don't put down anybody. We don't put down each other. So that's really what I want to make this like as a home base. Like you can come after work of all these people at work who are talking trash to each other and, tearing each other's heads off. You can come here and have a positive experience. This is something that I think is so obvious and so insane that people are not seeing it. You can see it in the money. You follow the money. I mean, it's clear. You follow the stats. You follow the facts. You follow. You don't have to connect the dots. It's written right on the wall. They are trying to build up the biggest military. They're trying to build up the biggest economy, and they're trying to take. And meanwhile, media is telling us, oh, they're about to collapse. They will go to war before they collapse. So you better hope they're not about to collapse because they will guaranteed use that largest military to get back in good standing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you again, Ilea, for calling out thank you for calling out another mod, using that space to say happy birthday to somebody else. Nana of Montana, thank you for your massive support. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for supporting independent. And then Stephen McMahon, Zelda. Thank you. Stephen McMahon, thanks to our great mods. Keep up the good work. And then we have Catherine Wilson. Thank you so much. And Ray the Way. And Kay Parker Fraser, Be Real Beast, Bible Talk, Kelly Josie, Susie Bailey Kupti, Carol, Tennessee Mountain Girl, and Neil Nelson. Thank you for your support this week. And then before we talk about Bolton calls for redeploying tactical nuclear weapons in South Korea, I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out the Flex Energy Tactical. This is their new unit, and just to mention this briefly, this is on pre-order. This is their new solar generator that was designed with the U.S. Air Force and the Air Force Research Laboratory. This thing, if you do want the best of the best, this would be it. It's expandable up to 96 batteries, and again, it has a lot of the features the Flex 1500 has, only extras. This one actually has a heater, so it can work in extreme cold, and it is dust and water resistant. As far as if you want something right now and it's going to ship out quick, the X2, while they still have stock, you can actually get with our special discount at marfooglenews.com/energy. These are silent. Again, they get their power from the sun. If you get a package with the solar panels, you'll have unlimited power. As far as you can also charge them from the wall. In the X2 case, you can charge it from 0 to 100% in 75 minutes. Then you have backup power that you can take with you anywhere you need. Also, the Flex 1500, the original, this is the basically the flagship. This one can be portable. You can take it with you to work. You power your drills, take it to the campsite, take it to tailgating, or you can actually have this set up as a professional home unit, especially now that they have the UPS rapid charger. This is going to save people's lives. I have no qualms with the affiliates that we choose, because all of our affiliates will either save you, get you out of a tight spot, will make your life better or more comfortable during a disaster, or prevent the disaster from happening in the first place. So go over to marfooglenews.com/energy, check out the Flex 1500. All of these are silent. Nobody's going to hear them from 3 blocks away, which is really good, because when you are in an SHTF or even a disaster, you don't want to stick out. You want to be a gray man, and that's exactly what these are good for. marfooglenews.com/energy. This is one of the few that you have to use that code Marfoogle to get the discount. Thank you guys, and I appreciate you. Everybody that has gone over and gotten these. Dex, Bolton calls for redeploying tactical nuclear weapons in South Korea.
Yeah, key point here for those that don't remember the history of SK. Redeploying, meaning we had them there before. So in 1958, we actually had put tactical nuclear weapons in South Korea, and we pulled them out in 1991. What they're suggesting is that we need to put them back in, given the state of affairs with Kim and how he is behaving, how he's been launching, how he's been threatening, and how he's continuing to grow his own nuclear arsenal. Of course, this is Bolton speaking, not in a position of any sort of authority, but certainly has a history of being in the positions that would, lead up to these types of decisions. He's certainly one to have a well known to be one to push war time activities, for sure. Definitely in bed with the industrial complex, but nonetheless, Yoon, who is the president there, actually said during their campaign that he would ask the U.S. to bring those nuclear weapons back to SK if it was necessary. But then he backtracked after taking office in May. But it sounds to me like, there's this push for it, especially as, they're going to be, we heard JB recently, our current president recently, talk about, how he's got all these plans, and we're going to do things to deter NK, and we're going to, he couldn't tell us what they were, but they were serious. And, so it is within the realm of possibility that we might actually put those back. Certainly it was a sign of good, faith, I guess, to take them out back in 1991 and try to bring a more calm, level-headed peace to the land. But if the other side isn't doing it, I think, it would probably at least feel better or at least they're saying it would be something that would help the population in South Korea feel more at ease if they actually knew they had a defense there against what NK keeps talking about and Kim keeps talking about lobbing their way. That's the position. That's what he's suggesting. He's one of many, but it's definitely not. I don't think it's off the table. I think it's probably something that's been considered with every administration, especially when they have to think about how are they dealing with Kim. I think the biggest thing they want is for it to slow down, stop, and not continue to escalate. Now, I know we think a lot about how Kim plays into the bigger picture of China, of Russia, and how they all play a part, and what is his role. If it's the end of the puppet string, so to speak, then it may not really matter what we do, because they probably have a plan for how he's going to play as things expand in a conflict scenario, especially in the Pacific theater.
And normally you could take something like this from Bolton because he's a former U.S. National Security Advisor. It's kind of like if you watch these clips or the propaganda from Russia where it's some guy on TV saying, oh, we should nuke the hell out of him. That guy doesn't matter. He doesn't matter, but Bolton is connected with all of these pro-war generals. All of the pro-war generals that served when he was National Security Advisor, they were all on the same page. They were trying to get this thing popping off. Back when Bolton was in, I covered so many different quotes from that dude. He wants war. And I think a lot of his friends do too. So who knows whose ear he's in? And then, also adding in what Dex said is that the one of the leaders there actually said, we would like this. But I don't know if things have changed since it leaked out that the U.S. was spying on South Korea, but who knows? And BRICS. So if you're brand new and if you were just found the channel and you don't know anything about BRICS, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, is it Iran? China and South Africa is this alternative, currency thing. And India, sorry, not Iran. Aren't they a part of it though? Aren't they suggesting something like that? Either way,
they want to join.
Yeah, they want to join it. But BRICS, these are 5 massive countries, and if they end up pulling away from the dollar, this is part of the de-dollarization that is happening right now. The dollar is something that it's fiat currency. You've heard it a million times, and if you're not familiar, if you don't study this stuff, which I don't, I'm a simpleton, but I do know enough to know that something really bad is happening here on top of the dollar, which is based on a Ponzi scheme. I mean, the first dollar in existence was borrowed, saying we'll pay this dollar back with interest. Well, how do you then pay back the next dollar? Well, you don't, because it's constantly going off of an interest. You literally, every dollar since the beginning has been with interest. So you basically keep printing money. When we switched from gold and took gold out of the equation, that's when all of this stuff started going way, way downhill. They talk about how you used to buy, a gallon of gas for 25 cents and, buy this for 5 cents and all of that. And slowly over the years, they say, oh, well, with inflation and how things have changed, it's gone up. But essentially, the dollar has been so devalued, it's insane. I mean, what can you even get for $1 right now? Not much. Even dollar stores are about to go out of business because even China can't produce stuff for $1. It's really, really scary to think about this, because every time that the dollar has been threatened, there has been a war. There has been a leader taken out. There has been somebody who was if you really think about it, if you really just go down to objective truth and you're not into the BS, Gaddafi, all of these, Saddam Hussein, anybody that threatened the dollar, especially with anything gold backed. Gold is the dollar's enemy in a lot of cases. They have gone after it. And if this whole BRICS thing is a result of this whole CV thing, then we're in a really scary place. Dex, with BRICS, it's like now they're actually saying that they're going to have a lot more members. 19 nations are possibly trying to join this thing.
Yeah, the other countries that have expressed interest in joining include Argentina, the UAE, Algeria, Egypt, Bahrain, and Indonesia, along with a couple of other nations from East Africa and one from West Africa that they didn't identify. So those are a few of the ones. I guess they claim there's a lot more that are wanting to join. But obviously the only one that they've added since its formation was South Africa. So that's the one. And I guess that's when actually BRIC was started in 2006. And now it's BRICS with South Africa joining and placing the S at the end of the abbreviation.
Teresa says America's falling apart. It's a long time coming. In fact, if you think about how the dollar was based in the first place, how it's printed, and then CV, they printed more money in just a few months' time during CV, this whole thing that went down and started in 2019, they printed more money in that few months' time that has ever been printed in history. And when that kind of came out, these headlines, people talked about it for a week. I'm sure people at the water cooler going, oh, yeah, that more money was printed ever. And then after that week, it just kind of faded away. When that headline came out and you were saying that at the water cooler, that was the start of a very horrendous downturn in a roller coaster that is about to hit the end of the line. We're in real trouble, and it does no good to tell people that everything's going to be okay. It's not, and it's crazy to build your ark after the flood. People need to start preparing now. We don't have. We had an affiliate for gold, but my personal opinion is that people should be looking at gold. Gold is something that literally will be able to, it's withstood almost everything. But they also know that gold prices, and a lot of people have evidence to prove, and even quotes saying that the U.S. has basically helped keep gold prices down by selling off of their stores of them. We have sold a ton of our gold. And at this point, they don't even know the gold that we sold, the physical gold, because people don't get the actual physical gold. If everybody said, hey, we want our gold right now and we want it physically, then we would have enough to actually give it out. I mean, we're on the edge of a cliff right now. And people really have to start getting that through their head. This isn't a fear-mongering thing. This is a real mongering thing. This is what is happening right now. And most of you guys don't know. I don't need to beat a dead horse. I don't need to, preach to the choir. Most of you already know all of this. My personal opinion is people should look at silver and gold for themselves. You'll have to find somewhere to do it. But again, I think, or your local coin shop or something. Let's see here. And that's not financial advice. That's just my personal opinion in this time and day. And I'd probably say, I don't know, silver's probably really good too because you don't have big denominations. And then no flight cancellations expected during the largest NATO air drill in history. So I keep seeing, and people keep retweeting just this exact statement. No flight cancellations expected during largest NATO drill. A lot of people are questioning, how is that even possible how big this is? Some have expressed their worries that this could cause disruption in places like Germany and in Europe. It said that their largest ever air deployment exercise is set to take place in June, is unlikely to lead to commercial flight cancellations, Europe's lead air traffic manager said. It says, we do not anticipate there will be any need for air operators to make cancellations in order to accommodate the needs of the exercise. Eurocontrol told Reuters in a statement. Air Defender 23 will be one of the largest air drills in NATO history, with 25 countries taking part in the joint exercise in German, Dutch, and Czech airspace. It will use the air corridors, and that will have been often used for training purposes, according to the German Air Force. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of UKR last year, the commercial airspace over UKR has been closed. That has led to less available commercial airspace in Europe, resulting in more traffic gathering over the south of the continent. Air traffic control strikes in France and elsewhere have exacerbated that limited airspace, increasing fears of costly cancellations and delays across the continent, which when they do these huge cancellations, it hugely affects the economy wherever it happens. It says that Germany's aviation sector in particular was concerned about the exercise's detrimental impact on commercial aviation. German industry group BDLS called for tight coordination around the drill to prevent disruption. Coordinated action will allow this major military event to take place while at the same time accommodating civil air traffic with the lowest possible impact in terms of air traffic delays and rerouting actions. So this is going to be a massive thing. I wonder if there's going to be video and I'm hoping that there's video and pictures of all of this. These are going to be huge. If you are underneath this in Europe and these things are flying over you, it's going to look like we went to war. So I'm glad that they're telling everybody out front. These are going to be massive. And I think that they're practicing for World War III. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is all just for show of strength or to keep nimble, keep on their toes? And by the way, we cover all of the major drills, especially because a drill can coordinate a ton of military. They can move a lot of military, Navy, and Air Force without causing a lot of alarm. So they could be doing a real thing in June. We don't exactly know. Most likely it will be a drill, but when they do these kind of drills, it's usually for a specific reason. And I forget what they called it. They said something 23, Air Defender 23. Thank you. Aloha. Hey, Justin True. Nice to see you, man. It's always nice to have you pop in. If you guys haven't checked out Justin True, he's over on our friends page. He really is a gentleman. He's always been positive. He's never gotten involved in drama. He's just a good dude. He's been with us since the beginning. He's been with me since very, very early in my channel. So I appreciate you, Justin, and I'm super glad that you've been stopping by. He also has really great information, and he's gotten us great information from Hawaii before the headlines had it. Like when the Russian science ship or the surveillance ship was off the coast, him and his brother were actually out in the water, and they were able to call in about it before it was a big story. So thank you, Justin True. Make sure to go check out his channel. He keeps us updated on what's going on in Hawaii. Stephanie Munoz, Dale Jackson, I save bread ties, all different colors. I'll trade with them. Hey, might actually, it might, I always used to flick those, but I'm sure they have like a million uses. So yeah, I bet that's actually, it could become currency at some point. It's probably more valuable than fiat at this point. Let's see. Bones. Hey, Bones. Nice to see you too. Armada Bones. Make sure to go check out his channel. Just check out all the friends on marfooglenews.com/friends. And then Tomateer, Trey Davis, CBG. Mike Bravo, WW3 means game over. I wouldn't say it has started. Wouldn't say that it started. We've been having skirmishes all over the world forever. Oh, well, I disagree with that only because if you look at what is happening, they're digging trenches on all of the NATO countries. They're putting up fences. They're putting up anti-tank measures. Russia's digging 50-mile trenches. They're putting 300,000 plus NATO troops on top of what is already there. They are changing rules. They are actually changing the structure of NATO so they can permanently have soldiers there now and not cause alarm. They're doing that. They're basically saying instead of whatever country is invaded or has a problem, basically, hold people off or basically go to conflict until backup gets there. Now they're saying, no, right now we're actually going to send backup before there's an issue and have them permanently stationed in all of the NATO countries on the borders. So I think something bigger is happening. But again, everybody's opinion is valid. Everybody has, again, I've been convinced otherwise from my opinion many times. Truth Iris, this is on an entire bigger scale. I agree. No way. It's new old warfare. Let's see here. Boats. Hello, Marf. Hey, Wages World. Again, all sorts of great channels over on marfooglenews.com/friends. And then Putin sends his invisible T-14 Armata tanks into battle in UKR for the first time. Dex, what do they mean by invisible?
Well, these tanks, they've probably got somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 or more of them. They announced them a while back, and they said they were speeding up production of them, but then they had to push off the time frame, which everybody just assumes they were having problems getting them actually built. To answer your question though, specifically, they have this what they call a technology in them that cloaks their ability to be seen. So the tank's defense is cloaking device buried deep behind the shielding inside the heavy armored body, disrupting its infrared signature that could pinpoint its location. They also claim that the technology includes radar absorbing paint and materials that make it resistant to rapid detection by radar. The other interesting thing, this tank, the drivers or the pilots sit in the front, and they're in a shielded area, and they don't actually sit behind the turret of the actual cannon there. They're actually in another location, and they control it electronically. So it's fairly advanced. I think it was first unveiled around 2015, but I think right as of now they've only been able to build about 40 of them because they've had some delays. And I think they pushed back to 2025 when they wanted to get them all completed. So, but some are saying this is more of a Ganda piece in the sense that if they roll them out, it's more for show. But then others don't, obviously Russia doesn't feel that way. They think it's essential. Now, here's the interesting thing is, why are they rolling these out now? They've, and putting them into a frontline position. Is that a sign of things changing? Because we have seen that they've pretty much used, any of their older stuff first. They've never really brought their new stuff, even their higher end planes that launch anything towards UKR. They do it from inside Russia's border. They don't necessarily come across the border. They stay far away so that they can't be hit. And they're trying not to lose any of their newer equipment and only waste, I guess, if you want to call it that, their older equipment, or risk their older equipment. That's what the current MO has been. So to see some of this new stuff roll through, these T-14s are kind of a somewhat of a pride and joy for them, even though I don't think that they've had a lot of success getting them built. But that's a signal of something different.
Samuel A says, says, I'm just visiting for my daily dose of propaganda. You aren't wrong. You are correct. We cover all of the MSM. So there is propaganda. That's why we tell you, take everything with a cup of salt. Also, what's really great, and this is one of the great points of this show, is not myself or Dex or the mods or any of us. It is the audience being able to go over a piece and to have everybody go over it in real time in chat, and you get to see everybody's real opinion. If you saw this article or watched this on TV in the office, I guarantee you everybody would give you their whitewashed opinion of it and say, oh, yeah. But when you have people in the chat basically calling it out as Ganda, then you go, oh, everybody thinks the same way too. Oh, everybody's on the same page on this. It's instant feedback, and it tells you that you're not alone. You're not alone in thinking this stuff is BS. So I'm very, very, very proud to have all of you guys here. I'm so happy to have such an awesome, awesome family here. Let's see here. By the way, thank you. Thank you, Melissa Tate. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your support. And then Neil Nelson, thank you. Be Real Beast, war comes when financial crises arise. Every single time, history repeats again. God bless. I agree. And they say if China is going to collapse in the next 10 years, which I don't believe, especially with all the Belt and Road and how they're expanding, how they're building like crazy, then maybe their fallback is their giant military. They're going to go to war if they collapse. So that's not a good thing either. Either way, they're going to try to take Taiwan. Neil Nelson, again, thank you. Good evening, Adam, Dex, Mods, and Foogle fam. Stay safe. Love your way. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, Nana of Montana. Thank you. Bound by Mountains. Is North Carolina bound? Thank you, Adam, Dex, all of our mods, and the whole Foogle fam. Glad to make a live show. When I don't, please be sure I never miss one. I usually catch up in the morning. Thank you all for all you guys do. Well, Bound by Mountains, you and everybody else that watches this on the replay, I cannot say enough thank yous. Thank you for everybody that watches the next day. Honestly, you guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you for the people that listen to us at work. Thank you for the people that don't miss a show, whether they're here in chat or not. I really, really do appreciate that. By the way, we're going to have calls back, and it's going to be pretty instant. Let's see, what day is it? I don't know if you guys have noticed, Dex has not been roboto. We fixed the issue. We did do I had my friend with a mixer stand in, and it did not, it wasn't that. It was a actual frequency thing. So we had everybody, and it's such a weird thing to stream because it's not like you call a sound guy. They're like, well, I can plug a red and a yellow into a red and a yellow. But when you have a very specific problem with streaming and gear that's around this, it's kind of like you have to be able to call another YouTuber that has done and dealt with the problem. So if you guys didn't know, we had a roboto issue after changing over computers, and it was horrible. It was like it was timed out. Dex, did you realize that? There has not been Roboto since we did that driver thing.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Sounds good.
So we'll have calls on Thursday or Friday. So make sure to tune in. I want to hype that up so we have plenty of callers. We haven't had calls in a while, so it's probably going to be kind of slow. But when we do go bring calls back, will you guys please don't be shy and call us. We'll have it in the next couple days. If you came to our show after and you're like, what calls? We did have live call-ins, every other day. So it's going to be fun. I'm really excited to talk to you guys again. It was really my favorite shows were the call-ins. And I'm sure there's people watching the replay right now that have the same exact opinion. We've gotten really good intel. We've gotten information that would have never gotten without a live call. We've also just had a fun time. We've had bad times. We've had amazing times. Amazing. All right. And over on DLive, thank you everybody that made it today. Thank you. It looks like a bunch of folks popped in. Thank you again, Yobi, Vault Music, Johnson. Thank you, J-Girl, that's me. I've been in chat just not talking a lot. Well, thank you, J-Girl, for popping in. I believe the collapse is only weeks away, says Vault. I think we have months. I never say dates or anything, but I do think I think it's a matter of months before at least one of the major countries declares war. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope somebody, what happened to that war you said that was going to be declared? I sure hope I'm wrong. I don't want it to be correct, and I'm really praying that it's not. Beer Juice, thank you again for your support over there in the diamonds. Dex, let's go over the web only. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Before you do, I do want to remind everybody, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. If you do want to protect yourself against an electromagnetic pulse or even a CME, a Carrington level event, you can do so with an EMP shield. It's a device that grounds the signal it grounds the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device, your car, your truck, your boat, your RV, your motorcycles, even your solar generators or your regular generators. You can get a home model. The home model is one of the few that you actually have to have a licensed electrician do. But the great part about that is once you've done it, everything within 250 linear feet, so most houses, everything that's plugged in will be protected. So that's an amazing thing. That means every device plugged in within range will be protected. So you don't have to put every single thing in a Faraday cage, or you don't have to work out something else. So that's a really, really awesome thing. The EMP shield is, many people go get the car version. That is their most popular. It can be put in by yourself in about 10 minutes. It's very easy to do. We even have Foogle family that have done this and put up videos of it. Again, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/friends, like Bones, and everybody else that's done. I believe Survival Living even did one. Make sure to go check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off per device, and you'll be helping independent media at the same time while protecting yourself against not only solar events, but also man-made events, which these are two of the higher probability. In fact, the solar events will happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and hopefully our technology has caught up by then, that it's not another disaster like it was before. All right, and Dex, let's go over the web only. We've got a lot of crazy stuff down here.
There certainly is. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or even easier, open up that description and click on the show notes link. It'll take you to this page that we've prepared for today's show. It's got all the news we just covered. And then you get to the overflow section, the rest of the story. So lots going on here. We've got some updates around this interesting use case for ChatGPT. People are trying to predict stock market moves. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of people making some money until that doesn't work anymore. But that's out there. We do have updates with the whole Tucker scenario. They're saying that there's a lawsuit that was in progress, and they're trying to come up with all sorts of other explanations or cover stories, whatever you want to call it, for why he was let go. Another person was let go from ABC. That's out there. Some interesting things going on with, I guess, Oog's numbers came out, and some of their revenue was good, and some of it was not. And in this platform, they had a little bit of a drop again, but I think they've had that a few times for the last couple of releases. There's some AI stuff around health and mood tracking that allegedly Apple is working on. That's kind of interesting. We definitely have other stuff in the AI and tech space about scammers and other stuff that's going on. The financial world is the banking is still taking another round of hits. At least First Republic is having some trouble. So if you want to know more about that. And then I think it was the FAA that has now grounded the not Starship or not SpaceX, but Starship specifically because of that, all the problems that happened with that launch, with all the dust that kicked up, with all the material that blew around. So they're looking for a resolution to that before they're going to allow any more launches for the Starship. So that's there if you want to learn more about it. Of course, we've got all the updates going on in UKR. There's a lot of little things happening, a lot of updates, a lot of Ganda pieces that are out there, troop movements, etc. They're all here, including them saying there is only one Putin, because there was all the narratives about the doubles that were out there, which we had talked about in previous shows. So all of that and much more, it's available on the website. So even some of the political stuff is covered there. So if you're looking for the rest of the story, if you're looking for more content, we put it together for you every night. It's all right there. Just go to the website, marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down in the description. It'll take you right here, and you can catch the rest of the story.
And so, as you guys see, yesterday I talked about it. My cow was right next to us, and it actually we didn't know because it was really, really young, and we didn't even we thought for some reason we thought they had to be like a year or a year and a half to have babies, like idiots. Either way, we have amazing kittens, and all of them are spoken for, except for the white one, which I believe we'll keep. We have 3 little kittens, and the cat gave birth, and I was up all night with the cat because the kitten, I actually birthed her, and she was like attached to me at the hip. I've never had that. All of my other cats that had babies, they went off and they did their own thing. Zoe, the mom, who's like, I think a year old now, would literally not leave me alone. She was meowing, just following me around the entire house. That's how I knew it was like kicking in. And she just had to be next to me. She had to be on my lap. She had them on my lap. Like, she would not have them in the box. And then once she had everything done, I had to put a towel. It was so gross. But once everything was done, all 3 popped out really fast. I mean, it was like after the first one, it was like 10 minutes. It was like boom, boom, boom. In 30 minutes, I had 3 placentas and 3 babies, and and then the mom couldn't figure out how to cut 2 of the umbilical cords, so I had to do that. I had to Google a bunch of stuff or DuckDuckGo it and tie it off with thread and cut it and all that. It was a long night. But we have the cutest little things there. And the dad was black, the mom is gray, and my wife said, well, she said, only if an all white one came out, then we would keep it. But, that's not going to happen. We got 2 out of 3 are white. So it's like, she's like, are you kidding me? The 2 of them come out all white, and it's none of the parents have it. It's like, come on. This thing, I'll say this, and everybody's complaining. I've heard some people complaining. The Barbie doll with Down syndrome. I noticed that Lego did a doll. On top of, there's all these other things where they're trying to like they're pushing all these cultural inclusiveness things, but they're doing it They want to represent what's real life, right? So in all of the movies and Disney movies, they're trying to represent each kind of person, but they go so far as to even replace like classics and then say, well, now here's one with this other kind of person. And they have now done it to where they are making it unrealistic, where there has to be somebody of every category in every group of friends. That's just not how real life works. You might meet this kind of person at the salon or this kind of person as a checker at the checking thing, but you don't see this in every makeup. I even noticed that like Mandalorian has done that. I just got to episode 3. They put in people. As far as like disabilities, I think that this is actually, I think that this isn't a bad thing. Lego did a one-armed Lego person recently, and I actually thought that was pretty cool. Because there's plenty of one-armed people out there, and that actually I thought was pretty cool. So the Barbie doll with Downs, I actually think that's not. I don't think that's a bad thing. And but then the other thing, and like I said, it's like anybody who is a part of a marginalized group, they should be offended that these corporations do things, not because they care about the marginalized group, is because they're doing it for money. They're doing it for their, index score to be cultural enough. They're doing it because their investors, who are the real evil ones, are making them do it. They're like, well, if you want an extra $1.2 billion invested, then you need to hit these quotas and make sure you do this, this, and that. That's messed up. And all of this is fake. The whole Bud Light thing, all of these things that are going on, if you are part of those marginalized groups that they're trying to represent, do you think they care about you? That's the thing. The actual marginalized groups should be the ones who are calling this stuff out, because they're totally fake. They're absolutely using your marginalized group to then make money off of you. So it does the opposite of what it should do. That's just my opinion. Thank you guys for listening to my rants and raves today. Thank you, Dex, for your service. I appreciate you so much.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Thank you, mods. I know Aaliyah made it tonight. Lisa, thank you. Bones made it tonight. Thank you. Justin True, thank you for popping by. I appreciate you. And we have all sorts of great people here tonight. RJL here was birthday yesterday. Thank you so much for stopping in. Occam's Razor, Amy VR. Hey, it's been a while. Big Bartman, Athena Guzman. Robert Rodriguez says, I'm really late. And unfortunately, this was a shorter show, but make sure to share this one out. Thank you, guys. Much love. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. It's time for a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. I can show them one last time, but I try to make it minimal when I do handle them at all. But my cat's different because she actually had me involved in the whole process. Is that a bone? I'll show you the black one is really cute too. The white one, the other white one just looks exactly the same. I'll show you in just a second. Is that a bone? On her cell phone when I said hello and she replied shalom. That's when I realized this wasn't a girl at all. Is that a bone? Back home when I saw her all alone. She was at the bus stop on her cell phone when I said hello and she replied shalom. That's when I realized this wasn't a girl at all. Tracker, everybody get that bonaka. It won't change the lipstick on a. I said George Washington and the MVP are truth diaries and the needs of I'm no stranger on the roaming of everybody. Looks like the top supported tonight is Nana of Montana. Is that a bone? Nah, nah. Nah, 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 nah.